Stakes of a series can make or break arcs. We include them within our expectations, and they tend to be what allow us to conversate about the outcome of various situations throughout some of the most notorious events such as Marineford or Chimera Ant. Stakes aren't, however, just limited to deaths. What they affect or who might affect them in particular can fluctuate the intensity of an arc, and that can make a weekly reading experience feel like an adrenaline rush. My Hero Academia's POW nailed that one in particular. When looking at World Trigger, the stakes are always there. You have the potential of agents dying, being kidnapped, civilian casualties which can harm Border's reputation, losing and deranking in the rank wars, but most of all, damage to society itself. However, there is one thing that is a massive opposition and a pain in the side to the neighbors. That title belongs to the one and only power elite Yuichi Jin, one of the few S-rank agents who was also the wielder of the Fusion Black Trigger and has the famous Foresight side effect. The Foresight side effect has been one of Border's biggest assets, allowing them to be in position beforehand and take down the enemy accordingly. However, the question remains, how safe is this asset, and most importantly, is Jin himself in danger heading into the future of the series? To begin this conversation, let's take a look at a couple of key dialogue moments within the After KOTOR invasion arc. Within that arc, we have multiple battles in multiple places, but all of them were quick to be responded to. This is due to the fact that the biggest stake of the arc came down to the crossroads of the future, in which one future of the various that Jin saw would come to fruition, ranging from the worst to the best outcomes. Luckily, the arc came down to one of the better outcomes, but to the enemy's dismay, it also became a learning experience as well. At one moment during the climax, you can see that Mira was suspecting that things were all too oddly orchestrated against them.
To send it away with a large window. Captain Irene and I are both forced to fight the exact wrong opponent. It's almost as if someone is pulling strings to manipulate us.
Then at the end of the invasion, upon After KOTOR's retreat, Hiren taking note of the unusual immediate response of things as well.
The relentless speed of enemy reinforcements arriving. Visa's inconceivable defeat. The carrier giving up his last defense.
Trigger off!
Even I got greedy and acted too quickly. No, that situation, the deployment of enemy units. I sense a puppet master behind the scenes, pulling the strings to make us dance.
If you notice that in both of these scenes, Jin was shown. Of course, naturally, they are unaware that the puppeteer was on the field as well. Regardless, however, they are aware of another force controlling things and that this is something they won't undermine a second time. Even the Galapola invasion team recognized this as well. It's a too common trend that has not been adjusted to essentially throw the enemy off the trail. The worst part about this is that Jin himself could be narrowed down to be the potential target. This will require After KOTOR taking into account of each of the agents they fought that day. Eliminating the big group team fights would take away a huge chunk of the operatives already. Then going a step further, if you look at the crucial targets, it comes down to Mikumo, Kuga, and Jin. Visa is well aware of the Black Trigger Kuga used to go toe-to-toe with him, and Hiren knows it couldn't be Mikumo because of all the assistance he needed to get Replica on board. The only other person who arrived with Kuga at the exact location of the fleeing Sea Rake agents and held back Kyusei without showing some form of special trigger in hand was in fact Jin. The key thing here is that even if they narrow it down to Jin, it's not Jin himself who poses the big issue, but the Foresight ability itself. Jin is a huge priority target, and that to me puts a big red flag on him for down the line that just like Kuga is looming in the background and will strike when the time is right to obliterate our emotions. As of this moment, there have not been any introduction of methods that could delete or counter side effects, so the odds of escaping the ability itself are low, especially if Jin has already seen you. However, there is the one future that not even Foresight can help prevent, and that is an overwhelming invasion. An invasion so big that it wouldn't even matter if Jin had the Foresight or not. This is why I say that one of World Trigger's final arcs would be the biggest invasion that replicates the old Great War that the original Border had to deal with years ago. After KOTOR themselves will not make the mistake of going into things again without taking into account that the enemy will be prepared for them. Jin can still be targeted in this final battle and defeated, and that right there is when things enter a new zone. World Trigger needs to have a big battle where for the first time in probably a long long time for Border, the future will be completely unknown. I think the uncertainty and unreliance of Jin within an arc can add a lot of tension to the situation. Ashihara has not been the type of writer to waste a single notable moment within the series. The enemy taking note of the flow of the battle will not be something that just fades away in the background. I personally am in the camp of the power elite dying, but not in the way you may think. Jin would probably do whatever it takes to prevent the worst case scenario from happening in the climax of the series, and as such, there should be a route that will prevent that worst case scenario, but not without the expense of him sacrificing himself. Even then, he may not even need to die, but to simply take him out of commission will add a lot of unpredictability in future conflicts. One key thing to remember about Jin is that he must be able to see people in order to see their future. If after KOTOR were to come back with a bunch of new characters and Jin wasn't able to see them, that alone puts a new unpredictable variable on the board. I thought this would be a pretty interesting idea to discuss, so make sure to leave all your thoughts and comments down below on what you think things might be looking like for Jin in the future. If Jin truly could be in danger in the future of this series, I really hope we do get a flashback arc of him coming into that power elite phase, because that will only make the emotional connection even stronger. With that, it's gonna bring me to the end of this video. As always, thank you for watching, stay safe out there, and I will catch you guys in the next video.